Hello again, this is Youth Pastor Aaron bringing you day 10 of M90's Memorize 90 Scriptures in 90 Days. And today we're going to take some time to review the scriptures we have done so far because we're moving on to a new section within John chapter 1. John chapter 1, we've done verses 1 through 5, and then verses 9 through 11, and verse 14. And those act as a good introduction to the book of John, And this whole memorizing unit sort of in 90 days is relationship and revelation. And in relationships, we get a better understanding of who somebody is as we do with time. And we're introduced to new characters here. Today we're going to start with verse 23. That's our memorization verse today. And we're introduced to a new character here, John the Baptist, who is very different from John the Revelator. Two different aspects of who Jesus is. John the Baptist serves as more of an introduction. He's introducing us to this man named Jesus. And John the Revelator, he reveals who God is in his writings. Think about that. If it had not been for John the Baptist, would John the Revelator had met him? How important is an introducer? If it wasn't for the person who introduced you to your best friend, you wouldn't be best friends. You wouldn't have that relationship. Ask your parents. If it had not been for that person that introduced them to their current spouse, they wouldn't have gotten married possibly, and then you might not exist. So introductions are very important. And John the Baptist is going to show us how important an introduction is. The saying goes, we never get a second chance at a first impression. So let's begin to review here. Verse 1 of John chapter 1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. In verse 9, that was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. And verse 14, and the Word was made flesh, and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. And so with that review done, let's memorize our 10th day of M90. John chapter 1 verse 23 is our verse for today, and it says, he said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of the Lord, as said the prophet Isaiah. Now, imagine yourself being in John the Baptist's shoe. Your job, given by God, is to just serve as a rally. You're going to rally everybody you can, and you're going to build a movement and a following, and then you're going to introduce the Messiah. You're going to introduce the man that God is sending to save all of humanity. That's your job. What made John the Baptist so great, what made his ministry so great, was his ability to know when it was time to get out of the way. He served a purpose, but the time came, which we're going to be memorizing here in the next few verses, where it was John's turn to get out of the way and hand things over to Jesus. How important it is for us to take that same respect. We're not going to build a following for ourselves. We may have lots of followers on Twitter. We may have a lot of people that follow after us and listen to our words very closely. But at the end of the day, it's important. We always put people towards Jesus. We always introduce them to the one who can solve their problems, the one who can keep them saved. So today I want to just ask you, pray for humility. Pray to have the same humility that John the Baptist did. Not to maintain his position and his influence of people, but to push them towards Jesus, somebody greater than himself. Some additional reading for you today. John chapter 1, obviously, but also Matthew chapter 3 and Mark chapter 1. Read some of these. Include these in your devotion today. God bless you, and you have a wonderful day.